Welcome to an introduction to the power of process mapping. Today we're going to review in more detail the benefits of process mapping for those who already have some experience. Just before we get started, I did want to set the stage and speak a little bit more about current and future state maps. As mentioned in previous videos, it's very important for us to always start mapping out the current state as it actually is operating and not the ideal state. One of the obvious benefits to process mapping is that it's a visual depiction that helps a person communicate the decisions, tasks, impacted stakeholders to complete a given process. We shouldn't also underestimate the ability to learn through visual aids. These visuals also help us mitigate the chance of missing steps, as it is more easy for us to look at an illustration than it is to read through a document. It is also significantly easier to see the impacted stakeholders, as we could easily review the swim lanes. Problem solving is another benefit to process mapping, as the visual makes it easier for us to identify the tasks and the stakeholders. Further, as we start to make changes in our process, it's much easier for us to also see the downstream impacts. Process maps also help prepare us for value stream mapping, which we'll speak about in a later session. Process map will also be able to help you identify your customer experience. When you're trying to investigate an issue that a customer may have, you can look through your organization from the eye lens of your customer and see what steps are being taken from their perspective and what they could see. Unit costs is another benefit. As mentioned in our previous slides, process maps help prepare you for value stream mapping. And value stream maps identify things such as headcount, time delays, process effort, quality, and other types of costs that help you understand the true cost of a process. For an example of using just a plain process map, not a value stream map, around understanding unit costs, is the ability to identify shared processes or core processes. Let's say you wanted to identify a duplicate process within your given organization. If your organization were to have multiple departments that all send out mail, each one of these departments could be sending out that mail using a different process. As you're able to map out this process and show each step and decision being made, you should be able to identify which one has perhaps less steps, and that could be the one that's more efficient at completing the process. Overall, this is a very powerful tool to help you streamline and ensure you're using the most efficient process. Finally, training material. As mentioned in previous sessions, Level 1 process maps help communicate what processes are at a high level and exactly what they're trying to do. For a new stakeholder or employee joining an organization, this is a very powerful tool to get them up to speed as to what processes are doing. Further, as we look to the Level 2 process maps, this is going to get into the interactions and communicate who's accountable for those activities. It'll help identify inputs, outputs, as well as the tasks and decisions that are completed for that process within a given team. If they're joining an organization and they're really wanting to understand how the work gets to their area and then what happens when it leaves that area, that process map will also show them their partners. Of course, visual depiction, problem solving, as well as unit costs are just some of the benefits of process mapping. There are much more. For example, if we're wanting to create a process map to identify the steps a given system is taking, as well as trying to understand predictability and quality control, which are two very big topics. Being able to predict your process and knowing how it is going to operate and those controls behind it to ensure that you're having that consistency will help manage your unit costs very tight. But we'll make sure to cover those off in a future session. And we're done. That concludes this session. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much.